All right, Ammon, I am here with Olympic gold medalist in the decathlon 1996 winner Dan O'Brien. Dan, welcome to SICest.
Hey, thanks. It's great to be here. This is a great event. I didn't realize this event was going to be quite this big. I go to a lot of fitness shows. I've been to Ursa Club Industry, big shows like this, and this show is very respectable. I love the fact that it's not just vendors. It's competitions going on around the outside of this venue, and to be here and watching these guys be energized like this is pretty exciting.
Yeah, 540 athletes participating today in one day. We had the pleasure of going to all 4 Europa shows across the country this year: Orlando, Hartford, Dallas, and now Phoenix. And looking at the size of the crowd, we won't know numbers till later on in the week. There's more people here right now watching this sport than any of the other venues and shows, so I'm excited to be a part of that as well.
Well, Phoenix, Arizona is really well known for people participating in their physical activities, a lot of hiking, biking, running, and especially cross training and swimming here in the valley goes on. So I figured it was going to be a pretty good turnout for an event like this here in Phoenix.
Yeah, next year we're going to have 2 days, so the goal is 1,000 people competing, and that's just in our sport alone. Of course, you have powerlifting and gymnastics and karate going on the other side of the convention center. Dan, we met a couple weeks ago at the Optathlon and got to know you a little bit more throughout the weeks. I want to talk to you a little bit about politics in sports, not only in the Olympic sports, but in all of sports. Obviously, they're there, and in competitive fitness, we're starting to see that as well. So what have you had to deal with in your fitness career from a political standpoint?
Well, I actually came into the Olympic sports shortly after they abolished the amateur athlete rule. Okay, for a lot of years, athletes couldn't make any money from endorsements and still keep their amateur status. You had to be an amateur athlete to compete in the Olympic Games. Now that amateur status is been abolished, we're all labeled, quote, professional athletes when you accept money. Whether you're a gymnast, a figure skater, a track and field athlete, you can accept money and compete at the Olympic Games. And so, from a political standpoint, the Olympics has really gone through a big evolution. But there are those who still believe that a lot of these athletes shouldn't be paid. But the Olympics, it's so big, it's making so much money, we've had to find a way to get the athletes in on that payday.
What do you think about college athletes? Do you think they deserve to get paid?
I think my ideas on that are changing a little bit. We're seeing reasons that maybe they should be paid. I don't like the rules as it stands now because the college athlete can't even have a job on the side to get paid. So I think some rule changes are definitely going to come into play.
Yeah, I'm a little disappointed in the politics of this sport. We had a pretty big athlete that was coming out here to compete with us, Andrea Egger. She actually stayed the night as my guest at our house last year. And Dave Castro, one of the producers of the CrossFit Games, called her and actually threatened to pull her from the HQ training staff if she came out here and competed. And it's a sad day in our sport when we see something like that happen. Obviously, she's a big name. A lot of people want to see her compete. More importantly, she's a friend of mine, and I would have liked to have seen her at least win some money. There's $3,500 on the line, and unless we do something about it, that kind of cancer is going to continue in this sport.
Yeah, that is too bad. It's interesting. You talk about CrossFit. Whether they threatened her status or her ability to make more money and from a sponsorship standpoint to not compete here. That can't happen, and I guarantee that won't happen in the future as long as these opportunities continue to arise. When you have prize money, when you have sponsorship opportunities, those athletes are going to be able to move away from CrossFit and compete in other events. You see a lot of things like that go down in cycling events, or European track meets. Compete in my event and not in somebody else's for whatever reason. But as long as your participation numbers are high, you can combat that.
Yeah, and you know what? We stood our ground. We were a very active CrossFit affiliate for 5 years in good standing. We brought a lot of people along with us, and we spread the word. But the affiliation program, the business of CrossFit, has some issues to it, so we decided to discontinue our membership and continue in strength and conditioning. And once we did that, we felt the wrath from the politics of the hierarchies of the sport. Ultimately, we look at CrossFit as a sport. Similar to Kleenex and Xerox, the word CrossFit to us means competitive fitness. Sure, they don't want us to use that terminology, so we'll call it competitive fitness. But to call an athlete out and threaten them to say that they shouldn't come and compete, it's tacky, it's criminal, and we're not going to stand for it. So we're going to just continue to do what we do and push forward.
Well, this sport has just undergone such a large transformation in the last couple of years. It's really exciting to see it take off. You can't stop a movement like this. People are going to continue to train like this. They want to be educated, and they want to be more fit. CrossFit should be just absolutely happy that they've really started this fitness revolution. But at the same time, I think they need to welcome the fact that people are going to have other ideas. People want to welcome new challenges, and whether it's new competitions or new training methods, you're always going to get your offshoots and your hybrids and stuff. So, they've got to be proud that they set all this in motion.
Yeah, I think their legacy would be much greater had they claimed that they created a sport instead of it being an 8-letter word that you can't use unless you're an affiliate. So we'll see what happens in the future, but I definitely agree with you that in order for this movement to continue and grow, there can't be barriers on it.
From a personal standpoint, this is really interesting. There were a handful. I coached track and field at Arizona State University, and there were a handful of track and field athletes that came to the first day of practice at ASU very, very fit. And I said, what did you guys do all summer? And they all said that they were doing CrossFit type training to get ready for the season. I mean, they look fantastic, whether it's javelin throwing, pole vaulting, or sprinting. These athletes showed up and they were really ready to go. So I thank the movement for that.
Definitely. Dan, you're seeing this for the first time at this level. This many athletes competing on the floor at a time. What was your specialty for training? What did you enjoy most? Squatting, running sprints, plyometrics, even isometrics. What was your thing?
I was mostly a plyometrics guy. I was naturally a fast runner. I was a pretty good lifter. I was never a heavy squatter or a power clean guy, but I had good technique, so I could manage my way through a lot of the weight room with just good technique. But I saw the most benefit to track and field when I was good at plyometrics. My shot put was good. My starts in the 100 meters were really good. I was very explosive because I could do plyometrics very well.
Decathlon training. Run us through what that split looked like. I know if I have to practice more than 10 movements in the gym at a time, I lose focus, I lose dedication. I know I can focus on my Olympic lifting for a couple weeks, or back to my strength, or back to my conditioning, but how do you train for 10 different events?
Well, you train for 10 different events by looking at each individual event separately. When I was a sprinter, it was time to be a sprinter. When I threw the shot put, it was time to be a thrower. And I was really able to take on the personality of each one of those different events. I would even change clothes so that I looked like a javelin thrower as compared to a high hurdler. Whether it's just putting on wristbands or changing your singlet to a t-shirt. But I really thought I had to have multiple personalities to do my sport well, and I could see where the same would go for an event like this.
What's your nutrition like these days?
Well, these days I eat whatever I want, but I train hard so I can eat whatever I want. When I was a competing athlete, for me more than anything, it was just getting enough food in me. And maybe I didn't eat the smartest, but we didn't know as much about it in the 90s and the 90s and the late 80s as we do now.
Dan O'Brien, gold medal Olympic decathlon athlete from 1996. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I appreciate it. Now that I know you're here in Scottsdale, we'll definitely get to know a lot more of you.
Well, this is my second event that I've been like this in the last month. You can guarantee I'll be at more of these. Not sure I'll be out there as a competitor. You never know. I'm 47. You know, they got an age group for me.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do. They do. We're having an event in Maui, June 7th and 8th, SICest of the Pacific West, and we will have a Masters division. Unfortunately, being over 40 means you're a Master, but yeah, we'd love to have you come out there. 2-day competition. Day 1 will be paddleboarding, running, swimming, and then day 2 will be barbell gymnastics.
Hawaii, my wife's Hawaiian, Maui. Wow, how do I turn that one down, right?
Yeah.
All right, what's that? I got 6 months to get ready?
6 months, yeah.
All right.
All you got to practice is your paddleboarding at Tempe Town Lake.
All right. Hey, thanks for having me. This is really impressive what you guys are pulling together, and from the standpoint of the live streaming webcast, very, very impressive. Thank you for your contribution to the world of athletics.
Thank you, Dan.